Welcome to the World Game Football Podcast, Episode 2. This is the official podcast for the United States Association Football Leagues, or US-AFL. I'm your host, Dre Footy, and in this episode, we'll have the second part of our discussion with league founder Roger Ferrer as he goes into more detail about his motivations in building the US-AFL. Now we'll bring in Roger to get his take on what exactly the league is all about.
What is the US-AFL? Let's identify what that is, and how did you get involved in forming this league?
The United States Association Football Leagues is a league made by fans with the intention of creating a soccer league in North America that respect the philosophy and the practices of the game, and that start building the system that we should have from the bottom up and not the other way around, by creating a grassroots movement and engaging the fans. It comes after the realization that to keep asking the status quo for this league that we should have is a waste of time. It comes after the realization that we should do it ourselves. Actually, one of the quotes that inspired at least myself on getting involved on the United States Association Football Leagues is a quote by Buckminster Fuller. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, which is, if you want change, don't fight the existing reality. Create a new reality that makes the existing one obsolete. And that's basically, I think that philosophy pretty much defines what we're trying to do. We're trying to build what we have, and it's going to be a battle, but I'm totally convinced that the fans have the power to do it. We organize, and if we fight for that, I have no doubts that we can make this a reality. It's going to be challenging, but I think that we're going to accomplish something.
Okay, and in view of that, the way you had the idea, and I like the approach. What are some of the challenges in starting this league?
I think the most important thing is to awaken a spark in the fans. The bigger problem that I see is that not only U.S. soccer fans, but sport fans in general have been brainwashed through years of a huge propaganda machinery that is under the service of the American sport elite, and they do not believe that it would be possible for a group of fans to create this league. They think that if you don't have a few millionaires behind this project, there is no way that this could happen. And of course, that is not true. People have the power to organize and create great things. Football Club United of Manchester is a very good example of that. I'm pretty sure you're aware with them.
Yeah.
And I think our most fundamental challenge is going to be generate this spark and tell fans, listen, we can do this, you know? And one of the things that made me think about the fact that we can do this is we are basically going to create the platform so that clubs that will come and join our league will have the right framework in which getting connected with the true culture of the game. What a commission have to do is mostly clerical, you know, keeping archives, dealing with scheduling, rules and regulations, disciplinary issues, things of that nature. If you think about it, none of that takes millions. I mean, of course, we are going to have to put in place a few initiatives to generate funds, and that could include a Kickstarter campaign, selling merchandise on our website, advertising, etc. You know, right. So definitely there is a financial aspect of this that we have to take care of. But to make the fans understand that this could be done, even though we might not necessarily have at this point the involvement of a few deep pockets, I think that's going to be key. If we make our case clear and we generate that spark and we get the community behind us, then I have no doubt that the league is going to be a success. But I think it's going to depend to a degree on us, but fundamentally of the fans. If the fans believe in this and support it and get involved, then the sky is the limit. I think that's going to be key. Everything else is just technical issues, working, dealing with the stress that will come out of different situations and work. But I think that will ultimately decide whether this is success or not is fans' involvement.
Just speaking from the formation of the league, what have you accomplished so far in forming the league? I mean, as far as maybe some of feedback you've gotten from fans that know about you, websites, social nets, what's been done so far as you've started to build the foundation?
We have done a few baby steps, and like I was telling you before, we are still on the very early stages, but nonetheless, important steps, We have everything started with a Facebook site and a few fans. Daniel Bryan Northington in New Jersey, Bennington Kesesi on state of Washington, myself. And of course, you are also a part of it because you are helping us with the technical issues of the website. We consider ourselves, and we want to make this clear, just representative of the fans, And we are not doing this for money, for power, or anything like that. We are doing this for love, for the love of the game, and because we got to the conclusion that the pureness and the true spirit of the game was under attack, and it needed to be defended. And that is something that I would like to make very clear. And I think that is one of the most powerful things that we have. We are legit. That is important. That is very important. And if fans understand that, and go like, what, these guys are for real. If we convince them that we are for real, then the sky is the limit. So, Facebook site, we have a Twitter account, we have a website which is on the early stages, and that it will be improved day after day after day.
You've established a sort of a legal entity too for the league. Yeah,
we created a non-profit entity registered on the state of Washington. So we are an existing legal entity right now. And we are doing a few steps with the IRS so that we are legally able to start selling merchandise on the website. So if you fans out there want to support our league, you don't have to spend a lot of money. Get a little share, get a little something. We're going to make it to look nice so that you can represent, and then you will be supporting change, a positive change, a change that will have an impact on the game, on society, on life in general. It will be a positive thing to get involved. And we're still working. We are creating a network of local delegates, which is fans that are familiar with the reality on their local estate, that will act as a link between the league and either the local leagues or the existing reality of club soccer on the regions, and they will help create an state level, which we foresee that could be the base of the whole system.
Right.
So our philosophy is to start building from the bottom up, and then if we create a state level, after we have that level stable, we could create another level on top of that one and build from the bottom up. We're about little steps. So we have done a couple of little but important things, and we are working.
So what are some of the basic differences between the US-AFL that you're forming and existing leagues like the MLS and the NASL? Obviously, MLS and NASL, they're closed leagues. But what I'm kind of more driving towards is about the type of teams and clubs versus franchises. What are the differences there?
Well, I think that there are many differences, but I guess the fundamental difference is that there are thousands of leagues all around the nation and clubs which size is too small to be part of either the MLS or all of the other existing leagues. And one of the things that is within our philosophy is if we want to be an inclusive game, the bottom part of the pyramid, the basic level, should be very affordable. So we want to create a league in which a humble group of fans can dream about forming a club, could dream about getting organized, renting a field, make sure that field meets a minimum criteria for lower levels, buy uniforms, and do some basic things, and maybe with the support of a local business, a restaurant or whatever, create a humble soccer club that could play on a lower league, which the travel distances that they will have to travel will be very short and affordable. Let me use an example, because speaking like that is kind of, a little bit ambiguous. There is a team on Miami, Selección Haití. Okay, whoever is on the South Florida area is familiar with the Copa Latina, which is a very good local tournament sponsored by the Miami Herald. Selección Haití is the team that represents the Haitian community. Okay, they won the first and the second Copa Latina, and then lately I've been a little bit disengaged. I don't know what type of results and what's going on with Selección Haití nowadays. But check this out. They get every game that they play on those local tournaments, they get an average of around 3,000 followers, whenever they play. If anybody from the South Florida region can tell if I'm making this up or not.
Let me just jump in, and that's interesting because when you think about teams in America, I think that people think that you have to have these tens and thousands of people at every game in order for it to be looked at as a serious league. But if you look across the different leagues across the world, in fact, you have attendances that don't even get you that, what you're talking about there in Miami. But exactly. They're viable leagues because, again, we're talking about community clubs, not franchises that are selling themselves like a storefront. The football is the main thing, not the owner or the sponsor, and so forth. So already from what you say, you already have the foundation for support of these teams that mainly will be playing in the lower leagues.
That is the next step that we have to go. We have a lot more people understanding the concept of promotion and relegation, but they still don't understand the dynamic. To put this on perspective, whoever is familiar with Football Club United of Manchester, with the team that fans created after they got frustrated with the situation with Manchester, they are actually playing on the fifth tier, which is called, I believe, Conference North. They have the record of the highest attendance on that league. You know what their attendance is? 1,900.
Right. And that goes to my point, too, because, as you know, I live here in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Silverbacks, which is an NASL team, second level, they averaged just under 4,000 per game. And, although when people think, again, about professional sports here, they're thinking 80,000 people in the stands. But it doesn't you don't have to look at goals like that. You can look at what's already being done, and the support is already there. And it's exciting to think about with what we have now. It's not a situation where you have to build to find fans to convert. Because I've heard one of the arguments that we'll address in another segment of the show. One of the objections is that, well, in America you have all of these different sports, and you have these people that they divide their interest between football, baseball, basketball, and so forth. So it would be hard to build up to get enough followers to support the individual teams in all the different leagues. But I think what you've just explained and what we've seen in comparison to what's going on in the rest of the world, the support is already there with existing soccer fans.
Exactly.
There's no need to build and make something more popular. It's already at that level. And so the rest is just creating it.
Yeah, the problem that we have is that our leadership is completely disconnected with the culture and the reality of the game. The Selección Haití, if they would be in England, they would have more fans following them that the leader on the 5th tier, which is not that low because there are 23 levels on the British pyramid. But guess what? Garber comes to Florida, gets together with the Florida fans and tell them, you want a team? Support your local club. You see how completely and totally lost. Do you think that the people from the Haitian community need Garber to give them a club? They already have one, and they have one that there is no way that any other club in the world, no matter how much money they have, could represent for those people more. A club that plays with the colors of the national flag, that have a coach that play on the most important game of their history. Our leadership is looking through them like they don't even exist, which is actually very disrespectful as well. Not only is a good sign of how lost they are.
Yeah.
So those are the basis of a problem: miscommunication, disconnection, and a leadership that is in a complete different ball game.
Yeah, I never really was a fan of that type of what I guess they call here in this country expansion, in that you have to convince the powers to be that you're worthy to pay them to be labeled as MLS or NFL or whatever it is, instead of getting there by merit, by what you do on the pitch. And the system that they've set up here is not conducive to that, because it's single entity and it's profit driven and so forth. But under an open league, what's most important is what's happening on the field, and that determines who's going up, who's going down, who's successful, who's not. And the cream of the crop is always rising to the top. Those are the major differences. But understanding the pathway there is what we're starting to have a dialogue about on this podcast. So I'm hoping that we can get through some of the myths. And again, like we're going to have a segment on this show called "Clearing the Smoke," where we'll talk about those types of things. And so each show we'll get a little bit more into the myth versus the facts on both sides.
I think
of the argument.
that's an excellent idea, because there is so much manipulation that we are submitted to, that you try to debate that and you could feel overwhelmed. So I think it might be a good idea on that segment if we could, if you could isolate all of the different arguments and really put a magnifying glass to them, like it had never done before, and get to the bottom of it. Go like, does this really hold any water? Do we really have to, for example, wait until the game gets more popular or the lower division clubs grow, and then we will be ready to implement promotion relegation? Those are the quality of the arguments that are presented. And I think if you put that through a magnifying glass and through a real honest debate, there is no way that none of those arguments could hold any water. Every time that Tampa, for example, goes, or Orlando City, for example, goes to the West Coast and plays the LA Blues, but they don't play Tampa, which is like really close to them, we are bleeding resources, because our system it's completely illogical and don't take in consideration the impact of travel distances, and created a meaningful structure, Every time that the LA Blues have to travel to Antigua and Barracuda to play a game on a league that doesn't qualify them for anything, on a team that doesn't have a history, that doesn't have really a following to an amount in which they can make profit, so that those type of travel distance can be justified, that is bleeding resources. And then we are presented with the argument, let's wait until they get healthier and better, and then we might consider promotion or relegation. Listen, I am surprised that those clubs don't fold. Are we going to wait until they get healthier? Really? If we take those arguments one by one, you could include popularity. Remember the old NASL, known till they don't have a stadium. Yeah, I want it, but in 50 years. And look at them one by one. That might be a unique product that not to be found anywhere else on the American debate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Roger, I want to thank you for taking time out this week to tell us a little bit about the US-AFL, a little bit about your history in the game. But definitely, this is just the beginning of discussions, and we look forward to having you back on a regular basis to go into more detail about the league, how its progress is going, and also, of course, we'll have you on for another segment in the show called Clearing the Smoke, where we clear out some of the myths versus some of the facts and truths that are in the subject of promotion and relegation in open leagues in the United States. So thanks again for coming on, and we look forward to having you back on real soon.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak my mind and giving me the chance to let whoever is listening out there what's going on with the United States Association of Football Leagues. Keep posted, and if you think that what we are doing deserves to be supported, get engaged. The engagement of the fans is going to be fundamental. I don't see any other mechanism in which positive change could change. It is up to us. I'm really happy to be able to participate on this, Andre.
All right, great. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops and what we have to look forward to in the future. Thanks again, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you very much. Next time.
That was league founder Roger Ferrer on his explanation behind establishing the United States Association Football Leagues. In next week's episode, we'll talk to current aspiring players and coaches from other leagues about what they hope to see with the US-AFL. We'll also introduce 2 new segments to the show. A fan question segment where we'll answer fan questions about the league, and a Clearing the Smoke segment where we'll address some common misconceptions about promotion and relegation and open leagues. If you have a question or comment for us, don't hesitate to drop us a line at podcast@us-afl.com, or simply like us on our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter to leave your question or comment. Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to talking with you again next week.